Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm just having a nice, quiet drawing session, inking this drawing. You can see it's quite early in the inking stages, but hopefully you can get a sense from the pencils so far as to what this is going to look like at the end. There's still some pencil work to do down here. That's because I need a new reference for this face. But yeah, I'm just kind of slowly working in these darker patches here. The idea is that the light source is going to be a large grain of sand here in this character's hands. So I just want to build up these dark areas so that you get that sense of the kind of the light emerging from the center and the sort of oppressive darkness, almost like a vignette coming in from the edges of the painting. So I'm just, where I've kind of tried to build up this texture here, I'm just going back in with some hatching lines to try and create a darker texture, while also trying to just kind of maintain some of that texture from the paper. So that's all this is here, that's just from where the paper's textured. And so just drag, if you drag the side of your brush over, I mean there's loads of ink on this, it's not really working, but if you see there, like you can see just kind of almost like a dry brush effect. So I'm going to bring this in right to the edge of this hand actually. I hope that that works. It's got the edge of the shoulder there as well. But that's okay, because I want them to be completely in the dark really, with very little light hitting them. My plan as well is to go in after the black ink, to go in with some white to add that contrast and really try to kind of sell the idea of the of that light source. We're a little way off there at the moment, but that should allow me to go in and kind of correct any mistakes and, as I say, add that contrast really to be able to hopefully sell that light source. So I've made an error here because I've got wet ink there, and now being right-handed I've got to try and avoid that patch. It does dry pretty quickly, but oops, just want to make sure I don't smudge it right down the rest of this drawing here. You can see I'm not being particularly fine with my hatching lines here. I'm keeping them fairly just rough and fluid, because I'm building up that blackness anyway. And I'm going to go back in shortly and cross hatch so that they're going the other way. In fact, I could start that now really, and that'll help, as I say, just build up that dark colour without it being too solid. Use the tip of the brush there just to try and put a hard line on. I'm still undecided as to whether or not I'll translate this into a digital piece at the end, because what you can do is start in traditional media like this, and then it's a fairly simple task of photographing it or scanning it and getting it into something like Photoshop, where you can then polish it, correct any little things you don't like about it, get the edges a bit more clear, such as, I mean, there'll be like a white line down here separating these two panels of this kind of comic strip. comic strip, comic book. And yeah, you can kind of tighten things up a bit. I don't know, I might just keep this one as a pen and ink image if it turns out well. Just got to trust these shaky hands of mine. They are shaky. Oops, there we go. Then we'll go in at the other side as well. In fact, I'll bring that right into that thumb there. Add a little more texture to that shoulder, just have it slightly illuminated. Those of you who just joined, thanks for tuning in. I thought I'd just live stream a nice sort of calm few moments in my studio, just inking. I'm trying not to kind of overthink this too much. Just going in with some brushwork just to cross hatch these dark patches here around this character's face. Trying to create that sense that there's sort of darkness creeping in from the edges with the light source being this kind of object source lighting here. This is black acrylic ink I'm using. What brand is it? FW, it's pretty standard stuff, it's nice. Got loads of pigment in it. Nice opaque black. It flows really nicely off the brush or with dip pens. You get a different effect with each, really. Lovely stuff. And this paper is something, I think it's like 300 or 400 GSM. Sort of fairly rough texture. I used to always much prefer hot pressed, totally flat, no texture paper. Over the years I've grown to embrace something with a bit more texture in it, because then you can really bring that into the image, which is what I've kind of tried to do here, and what I'm just kind of filling in with this cross hatching here. Now I've got to decide how I want to build up some visual interest in the rest of this image, because I don't want to overcomplicate the face. I don't want it's supposed to be a young female character, so I don't want the skin to seem too gnarly. And in this style, that tends to mean focusing your detail around the eyes, nose, and, well, can't see the mouth. So I kind of want to leave this fairly untouched, but it definitely needs more interest and texture around the hands. And this object here is supposed to be like an sort of enlarged grain of sand. So we'll try and create some texture and visual interest there. Thinking about where the light source is, which is supposed to be this sort of self-illuminated grain of sand, which means the back of the hand, both these hands, is going to be in shadow. Just looking at the chat a moment ago, someone's clocked this classic, I want to say 80s WWF, as it was back then. I've never managed to get used to WWE. It's never been WWE to me. It was always WWF, but hey ho. I think that's because us millennials are at risk of becoming the new boomer generation, but I guess that's a discussion for another time, really. Let me know in the chat if you agree or disagree there. Hopefully disagree. I hope I'm wrong. just trying to build up some texture and visual interest on these hands, but I've got to be careful that I don't want to lose the what we call shape language. I think I've got a good shape of the hands and fingers and thumbs going on, just as I was adding sort of little dot patterns to try and add some shadow here. I feel like I start to lose some of the distinct shape of that thumb, but that's okay. So I've just kind of put that into shadow and just suggested, oops, that thumbnail there. I think that's going to be the key here, just trying to just suggest where the light is coming from and where it isn't hitting. I'm trying not to go in too much too soon, just try and just slowly build it up. Otherwise I think it'd be easy to rush things and lose the shape completely. But I also don't want these hands to remain completely textureless. We've got to have something going on, otherwise they're just an outline, and I want them to be more than that. Just got the creases in the knuckle there. It's these decisions that are going through artists' minds all the time. It's kind of reflection in action. So reflecting in the moment. I think it's rare to find an artist who can just imagine what their artwork's going to look like and just create it without sort of responding to the realities of how it turns out. There's always those sort of decisions to be made in the moment. I quite like that. I've learned to embrace that over the years. Embracing the fear of going from pencil to ink and the irreversible nature of it. There was once a time when this image would have completely stalled out at the stage that the pencils are at now, through just fear of ruining it. And if you're watching this as someone who experiences that, well, first of all, you're not alone. But I would also suggest that, well, something that I found really useful was digital artwork. That really got rid of that fear of ruining my own work, which is a weird term really, because I don't think you can ruin your own work. I'm saying that out loud, even though in my mind I know full well I feel like that. I've got to tell myself that I can't ruin it still. But digital artwork's fantastic for that, because there's always the undo button. You can save it incrementally, you can experiment more. Well, I mean, obviously you can experiment plenty with traditional media as well, but you've got the undo button, which I've always loved. So, and you can save various stages and just go back to where it was previously. You know, like if you don't like where you've taken it, then yeah, you can go back to where you were, which is great. And it really helped me get over that fear of ruining my own work. You might be looking at this thinking, well, I'm still doing it, still ruining it. I always find it difficult to see my own kind of, like, see where is it going at this stage. I've just got to push through the messy phase and try and find a point where I'm happy with it, where it all starts gelling and coming together, and I'm feeling confident and happy with where it's at. I guess the difficulty probably with this image is that it's a series of small images, so I'll probably have to go through that several times all just to complete this one image. I genuinely can't remember who wins this wrestling match. Oh, looks as though the Ultimate Warrior's just won. Do people still hate that guy? I don't know. Everybody loves Hulk Hogan though, right? Maybe that's not true. You could be really careful with these kind of old school characters. So saying how much you love them. You gotta be careful just in case it turns out they've done something really shady. I don't think Hogan has. I think he's not ashamed himself, has he? I hope not. Because he was always the man back in the 80s, wasn't he? But plenty of celebs have fallen since then. God, I hope he's not one of them. Anyway, I hadn't really planned to talk about that. Let's go back to the art. I should have opened the window, you'd be able to hear the sheep outside as well. No one there now anyway. Ric Flair versus Macho Man Randy Savage in the background. Thanks for tuning in. I'll just live stream me in my studio at home. Just trying to build up some shaded areas on this image here. I think I'm getting there. I think so. You need that a little closer so you can see what I'm actually doing. That. Maybe that's a little better. There we go. You only see a little bit of the WWE in the background there. Hopefully that helps you see the image a little better. Make sure the focus is okay. There you go. I think that's all right. You shaky old hands of mine. Thanks for tuning in. A few other people have been on as well, and I was just saying previously that the idea is that I'm just kind of trying to sell the idea that the light's coming from this central part here. So I will go in at some point, once I finish with the black, I'll go back in with some white ink to try and pick out some highlights and really accentuate where the light's coming from. That's the plan. So I'm trying not to lose the shape of these hands, whilst also just making sure they have some texture and visual interest. They're starting to look a bit gnarly, which isn't really what I'd wanted, but we'll see how they turn out. I guess I kind of do and I don't want them to look gnarly, I suppose. Like, I don't want them to look too clean. I also don't want them to look like all-person hands, which, well, I'm not sure exactly what they're starting to look like, to be honest, but hey, we'll keep going, push. A lot of, well, in my opinion, I find art is a lot about just pushing through messy stages, and you got to keep going, just making decisions in the moment, living with them, working with them, sometimes correcting them. That's okay. I can try and correct a few things if I don't like them with the white ink when I go in with that. And that's why I'm just trying to kind of just work slowly. I'm not making any rash, sort of big decisions straight away, just stepping back and looking at stuff. Just slowly working in this, not just visual interest, I suppose. This texture on the hands. Also being careful not to smudge the ink with my hand resting on the paper. Although it does dry pretty quickly. So this is acrylic ink by FW. Oops, there you go, you can see that. It's nice stuff. This particular pot is really old though. This belonged to my wife's grandfather, who sadly died several years ago. I don't know how long he'd had this before. I was kind of gifted it by my mother-in-law, which was kind of her. She wanted someone to keep using her dad's art materials. So hopefully I'm doing him proud. I think he'd be happy with this. He was a fantastic oil painter though. I don't have a clue how to use oils, so no idea with that. Is this looking messy? I can't tell. If you're still there, give us a little thumbs up, that'd be great. Thank you. Help a few other people tune in. I'm saying that I'll have to stop in a minute or two anyway. I won't be on for much longer. Kids will be coming home from grandparents' house. I'll have to see to them. Get them to bed. Never an easy task. Not while my wife's at work. So I'll be starting them both out on my own. Hey, never mind. They're good kids. For those of you just joined, I was just saying I won't be on here for much longer because my kids will be coming home soon. I'll have to get them to bed. But it's lovely of you to join me, thank you. I was just trying to share a little bit of time in the studio, just inking this drawing. Can't really see that much from there, can you? Hang on, let me zoom in a bit. Here we go. From that angle. Yeah, maybe that's a little better. I was a bit far away before. It's getting too much of the WWE. How's that looking? Does it look messy? Maybe. That's okay. I'll keep going. Just slowly working with these. There we go. Being careful not to smudge that ink. Just trying to build up this shadow and texture. Size of this brush, size 6. And this is just a synthetic brush as well. That works well with ink, because your natural fibres can hold on to a little bit too much of the liquid. And that's great in a way, because then it means that you don't have to dip your brush quite as frequently. But when you're working vertically like this, it can mean as well that you've got a bit too much ink, and then you can kind of drip down your painting or your drawing, which you don't want. I usually have things lying flat when I'm using inks. I thought I'd try this upright. So I was hurting my old back, which is no good. Bending over the coffee table is what I was about to say there, but that could be misquoted, couldn't it? Bending over the coffee table, hurting my back. I'll let you figure out whether or not I should have said that. So I've got quite shaky hands. It's nothing medical, just an essential tremor. And you can see it in my lines a lot of the time. It does make things tricky as an artist when you're doing fine work. And that means that I tend to hold my breath. It's unusual for me to talk so much when I'm drawing. But I figured it'd be a bit boring if if it was just me and a paintbrush in my hand. It does mean that you might hear me kind of sounding a little bit short of breath. And that might be because I'm just unfit and old. But I think it's more just from holding my breath a little bit like in archery or when you're aiming a gun, I suppose. Just trying to get that control over these shaky hands. Oops. Yep, there we go, there's a shaky bit. How does that look? Can't tell. What do you guys make of it? There's a few people still there. Drop me a comment. Does it look okay? Does it look rubbish? Oh, I'm no judge. I can't tell. Like I was saying before, I'm just trying to work slowly, just making incremental changes, kind of working on not quite the whole image all at once, but not sticking to one specific part too much. Which is something I used to do when I used to be really interested in just pencil drawing. But I kind of learned to just be a bit more flowy and free with things and not get too stuck into one specific bit. Work around the whole painting all at once. Oops. So I do have an easel. It's just a bit too big for this room. And it's a pain in the ass having to set it up and take it back down again, which is why I'm resting on this chair. In fact, I've got two easels. One of them, I tried using the smaller of the two, but this board is a bit too big. That looks a bit messy. Try and neaten that up a bit. Whoops. I'll lose those knuckle creases. I was just saying before, I plan to go back in with some white ink. I haven't actually used the white ink. I'm hoping it's opaque enough that it'll cover the black. If it doesn't, then I'll have to rethink. I do have some gouache though, if that's how you pronounce it. Gouache? If I'm honest, I've always said gouache, but maybe I'm not sure that's quite right, to be honest. I know that in American English it tends to be gouache, but it's French, so I don't really know. I don't know how to pronounce it. Anyway, so that's nice and opaque. Some permanent white, so I guess that'll do as an alternative. It's just got a different kind of finish to this. This acrylic ink. It's not a true matte. You can see as it goes on wet there, look. It's certainly not matte there, but then when it dries, it's more somewhere between matte and satin, whereas gouache or gouache has a really definitively matte finish to it, which I love, but I also don't really want to mix those textures, otherwise the white will stand out sort of texturally more than I'd like it to. But I'll deal with that one when we get to it. Picking out those fingernails. where to go next. Should probably be working my way down these fingers, because what I'm doing is going the wrong way, so then my hand's trailing up into the wet ink, but never mind. I'm taking my time, so it doesn't really matter too much. Yeah, that's looking all right. So we can come over here to this bit. Oops. Build up some texture here. Little freckles and specks of dust on these hands. Oh, my cat's has just come in. Hello. Do you guys want to see the cat? Do you want to see the cat? I've got two. This is the short-haired one called Enid. And they usually come in from outside for two main reasons. One, because they're hungry. Oh, three actually. I was going to say two because they've killed something. But also because they want to go to sleep. Oh, she's gone. Don't know what she was trying to tell me. Shouldn't be hungry, I've not long fed him. Quite like those little flicks there on the thumb. Try and replicate that just over here. A couple of little lines. You can't even see that on the video, can you? Never mind. Trust me. It looks okay. I think it's looking all right. Cat's back again. Oh, hello. You can see. Oh, little cat. Oh, your bow's on back to front. There we go. Where was I? Distracting myself with a cat. Something else I wanted to do is to just touch up these eyebrows. Just sell the strands of hair a little more. That left one in particular. There's 5 of you here. Thank you. Hopefully you got a good view of this image as it's kind of emerging, I suppose. Just working on these details. Trying not to lose the shape of these hands, but also just making sure that they are definitely in shadow and they have some texture to them. I don't know if I've caught the right texture for hands there, but hey ho, I'll keep going. Keep going. Kim Jong-ji would have had it finished by now, wouldn't he? And it'd be twice the size with 10 million times the detail. Never mind. We can't all be Kim Jong-ji, can we? That was incredible. I'm assuming you guys know who I'm talking about. Kim Jong-ji was just the most incredible illustrator from Korea, and he died of a heart attack in Paris a couple of years ago, something like 2022, I think. It's such a shame. He was genuinely a modern master. He would set off with a blank piece of paper or a bit of wall and just draw with a brush pen. No pencil marks, no kind of discernible plan other than what was in his head. He was amazing. Yeah, Kim Jong-ji. Check him out if you get a chance, if you've not heard of him. Absolutely incredible dude. It's such a loss. He's done loads for illustration, in particular illustrators coming from places like Korea. But not just Korean artists as well. I mean, there's other dudes that are in his kind of group of artists still, like Karl Kopinski, who's in the UK. He's another amazing artist. Definitely worth checking out if what you like is illustration. Karl's an amazing guy, not just because of his art, but because of what he's going through at the moment, which is he's had a stroke and he's only young. I think he's about 54, but had a stroke and is doing an incredible job, working really hard with his rehab because he lost a lot of the function in his left hand, which is his dominant hand. If you go and check out his Instagram, you'll see he's sharing loads of stuff about his rehab and learning to draw again, and he's just the most amazingly resilient dude. Very inspirational. And a far superior artist to me. That's okay. would have put some music on in the background, but I have a feeling YouTube will flag it for copyright. Oh, so you get to hear the motorbike, whatever that was. And originally I had, you can just see a bit of the computer screen behind there. That is showing some classic WWE matches, but I thought you'd be better off just being able to see the artwork a bit closer. How's it looking? Shit. But never mind. I've been just chunting onto myself to you guys and saying how you just gotta push through these messy stages, I think. Especially big pieces like this, they always have a messy stage. Well, mine do, definitely. So I kind of figure it out on the fly and see what works. I think that looks okay. Can always correct stuff as I go. I think I'm getting there. I think this definitely looks better than it did as just kind of blank outlines for hands anyway. Just created this kind of textured look that I can work with. Because I'm going for that kind of like comic book aesthetic. Creating nice textures with just black and white inks is a challenge. So I mean, like now, do I go back up the fingers in kind of vertical strokes, kind of, oops, like that, but a bit finer? Do I do that? Maybe a little finer than that. Just around that edge, maybe. Yeah, okay. So obviously, I mean, if the light's coming from the center here, like the darker side of the digits will be obviously where the shadow's falling. And at the moment, I've probably made a mistake because where I've put the shadows on the edges, they'll be illuminated. But what I plan to do is go back over them in white ink and try to sort of pick out parts where I think the light's going to catch. Oops, maybe a finer brush, this will be better, but try and be a bit less heavy-handed. There we go. That's probably better. A little lighter this time. And that looks okay. Good WWF match you're watching. Oh no, hang on. So, oh bro, your painting is amazing. You made my day, thanks. Ah, that's so kind. Thank you so much. That's really kind of you. Thanks, dude. Clever duo. Amazing. Thank you. I'm really glad that that's made your day. That's really cool. I appreciate that very much. It's lovely sharing stuff online and getting nice comments. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get my fair share of people talking shit as well, but everybody does online, I guess, maybe. Surely everybody does. But yeah, really nice to share this with some lovely people. Thank you. Get my angle wrong with this brush. Just not the finest little tip, but I'm a bit heavy-handed with it. Oh well, I still think that looks okay. Oh, there we go. Because I wasn't resting my hand on the paper. Too busy being careful not to smudge it. Never mind. I still think that looks cool. It's getting there. And I want some lines in this direction here. Some of them here. I've forgotten why can't remember why the ink's wet now. I smudged before and it's heartbreaking. Try and angle my hand a bit. There we go. Yeah, okay. That looks all right. More lovely comments on there. Thank you. Very kind of you. Just going to do a couple more lines in this kind of vertical direction, and then I'm going to have to call it a day. Oh, it's been absolutely lovely sharing that with you guys. My thumb's going to get numb from holding that pot of ink. Oh. Cool, right. Thank you very much for tuning in. I think that looks pretty good. I'm quite happy with that. There's more to do. Next steps, I think, fill in some detail in this sort of grain of sand. I think it's not popping just yet. That's going to need a lot of black, and then the white ink to really bring out some kind of illumination from that. The plan is then to have kind of these light lines to sell that idea that the light's actually emitting from this grain of sand. There is a kind of a story to this piece, but unfortunately I haven't got time to kind of tell you guys about that, but let me know in the comments if you want to know more. But yeah, thanks loads for tuning in. Cheers guys, see you later.